What's better? Come on up, personal advice here. Give it to me! What do I need? Any advice and information from this podcast is general only. It has been prepared without taking into account your individual circumstances and needs. Before acting on any advice from this podcast, you should assess and seek advice on whether it is appropriate for your needs, financial situation, and investment objectives. Renting versus buying, now that we're touching on it. What's better? Come on up, personal advice here. Give it to me! What do I need?
It depends, hey. It depends what you want. For me, it was like for personal reasons. I wanted something to just own and make my own and have things the way I wanted. But I guess it can come with the cost in that you got to pay rates, insurance. Maybe you have less surplus cash flow compared to renting. Because if you're, renting with other people, or the rent might be a bit less because you don't have to pay rates, insurance, the repayments, you don't have to worry about that. It's just kind of a stable income. If the aircon dies, you don't have to fork out
all those things.
$5,000 for that.
Okay. So a bit on the rise, and we've definitely talked about them before. I guess some other things, renting versus buying. Yes. You're not dipping your toes water, you've borrowed a few $100,000, you go in, rent, usually better cash flow as you mentioned, and for you who moved heaps of places, whereas a house, you get that whole home versus house or whatever. But I guess in the long term, you'd like to think there is some capital gains or growth in your house. Without getting into too deep of the weeds on investment property, investing, growing we're just talking about normal buying a house because that's just what you want to do. Everyone's a bit different.
Yep.
Some people, that's all they want. Some people want to grow a portfolio of 20 properties that pays them $300,000 a year. We're just talking about buying a house. What are the different pros and cons between them? And one is like the capital growth side. So for everyone, say, like what you just mentioned, there was that trigger point. It was the right time for you to buy a house. Think of the people that were like, nah, I'm happy to rent. And they kept doing it pre-COVID. They have missed out now on that post-COVID recovery of lots of percentage on their house. Yes, they were kind of getting cheap rent, all that kind of stuff, but now majority of the East Coast, and maybe even over in WA in pockets, but we talk about Queensland, we talk about Brisbane, Gold Coast, 10% a year the last few years. Townsville, some areas have done 20-ish% a year the last couple of years. Cairns has blown up. So for those people that, like yourself, like say with the house you bought a little while ago, might have sat there a little bit stagnant in its value for a year or two, and then the last 3 years it's just, and because it's not a 10 or a 50 grand investment, it's a few $100,000 investment, it's blown up.
What do you tell your clients? Should they buy now or should they wait?
Sometimes it can't always be about the money. It can't always be about how much you're going to make. Put everything aside and just grow all your assets so you're buku rich, or you can retire at 40 or 50. Some people just want a home that they can raise their kids in, or they love to tweak their garden or do that stuff. And I see that in my street, and I kind of like doing that now. So a fair bit of it is subjective. There's definitely a heap of good and not so good people out there that spruik on YouTube, investments and the FIRE movement and all that, sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes down to just being a lot happier in your home. You don't have to worry about getting booted out. This is the house that's going to raise our kids, or have Christmas parties at, or have mad Monopoly nights. Like, if that's your reason, then go at it. I can't tell you when to buy. Sure, when we talk about the local market, prices are pumping. They've pumped the last couple of years. I don't know how long that will run for, and I don't know if it can keep going. It's like the share markets. It can't keep doing this forever.
Yep.
Don't know when to try and pick and choose. But if you want to move into a house, sure, tick that box.
Yeah. It's hard to, I guess, time the market, isn't it?
It's a tricky one. Yeah, it's a long-term consideration. If you think you're going to be there 10, 20 years, yeah, sure. Now's a good time as any. I'm sure there's some agents out there and property developers that are like, they've got all their data and stats to go, well, the next year we're going to have,
Hard to predict.
It is. You got to fit in. Not now is, it's not the perfect time for everyone. Interest rates, cash flow, might be having a kid, might want to go back to uni. Do you want to take on a big loan?
Yeah.
You might want to travel. There's a heap of stuff. There's a lot of the why is a big question. Some of it can't be financial. It might be just subjective. Do you want to keep renting? It's not, there's good and bad. I've definitely got a couple of clients that are happy to rent and have investment properties on the side, or are saving buku cash because they're sinking into the share markets or other investments. Everyone's different.
So, personal circumstances.
But we sort of go back to what we mentioned, renting versus owning. Is it automatically better?
Can we give an example?
Sure.
Yay.
Okay. Look, we talked about the person earning 80 grand a year gross. That's about...
Before tax?
That's before tax, yep. So you're paying about 16 or 17 grand in tax. So you're getting about 63 in the hand a year, which is roughly about 5,300 a month. 600 grand loan, 600 grand house, 30% loan, $30,000 deposit, 570 grand loan.
That's if we get the 5% maybe.
Yeah, that's sort of going off first home. You've ticked a few of them government grants there, so they're going to cover the stamp duty, especially in Queensland. Repayments on a 570 grand loan are about 3,400 a month. So already that's about 65% of your income. It's a fair bit. Then, as you talked about before, you got your rates, your insurance. What happens if you move in and the aircon pulls a sickie on you and then quits on you, and there's another few grand? Those things will come up. Now you're starting to chip into nearly 3/4 of your income before you've started. So that's at the top end. For some people, the banks might lend them that much money.
Yeah.
Going back, you're going to the bank, you're trying to get some pre-approval or guidelines on how much you can borrow. Some banks might outline to you, hey dude, we're going to lend you 600, 700 grand. Savings is good, you've got a good income, and you're like, oh, sweet. When you bust that down, you've got to then make sure you can fit that in. What happens when or if we do get interest rate rises, which we just had a little while ago?
Yeah.
So what's happened in the last few years? Interest rates plummeted, lending amounts went up because there's less sort of financial guidelines there or whatever. People have gone out and gone, sweet, I can borrow an extra 200K. Interest rates are like at 3%. Fast forward, /neck minute, we're in the high 5s, low 6%.
Yes.
What happens if interest rates move another % or two?
Eats into your income. Because, they'd only have left over maybe $1,300 a month or $300 a week for groceries,
so much.
Fuel,
eating
out,
average house price for what you're after, if you're after that house, it might be around the 400, 500, 600 grand. You might need to manage your expectations. It's only your first house. It's not going to be your last, most likely. You might need to... did you buy your dream house for your first one?
No.
And that might be the case. It might take you a little while to buy that dream house if that's what you want to do. It's hard though. Social media tells you otherwise.
It does, definitely does. Or share the house with someone.
True, that's another option. That might help you with the banks. But it's always an option if you buy a house, live in it, and then potentially rent it out. It covers another sort of set of tax implications, whether it's now, year to year, or when you sell it for capital gains.
Yep.
But there's some options there.
Do you think it's realistic to have then 75% of my income going towards a house?
I don't think so, but I do have a couple of clients that are religious in what they're after. They are diligent and disciplined, and they do not waver. From Monday to Friday is mee goreng night.
It's what?
Mee goreng noodles.
Oh,
Saturday, they might treat themselves, I don't know, with a can of tomato soup. Sunday,
wow.
day of the Sabbath, apparently, they just live off water and they're religious in their goal. Like, that is the very minority.
Yes.
For those, it could be feasible because they don't need anything else. They walk to work, all that kind of stuff, but then there are some that...
Wow.
Yep, I've got a couple of clients that they're after their goal. They're building their asset portfolio, they're renting, like, they're living, but won't work for everyone.
No, that's true.
It's a bit of a stretch, but just know the banks might lend you that much. So,
do you think I'd be better off renting instead? If it's chewing up 75% of my income
or reducing what you're going to buy.
Yeah.
Manage expectation management.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 600 grand. That house is maybe a bit off. You might need to move into something that's 300-400 grand. Less desirable, different neighbourhood. Might need a lick of paint. I don't know, but that's going to save you the stress and drama of big repayments. If interest rates go up, your repayments will go with it.
I guess if there's the opportunity to get something that cheap.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what if I rented? Like, if I shared a house with someone and rented for like $300 a week, do you think I could do something else with my surplus money that I've not spent on?
Definitely, whether it's saving a bigger deposit. There's heaps you can do with your money to grow it in the background. Whatever you guys are, spend more or whatever. There's plenty of options, but
what about investing? If I put that money in investing instead, because I guess we hear a lot of things like renting is dead money, but if you were to say rent instead and put any surplus, maybe the difference between that 75% and renting, maybe if you have some surplus funds, if you invest instead, do you think that'd be beneficial?
With the right goals set up, 100%. Especially you run into the trouble if house prices are rising at 5% a year. Let's just say that's on a 500 grand house. That's 25 grand a year you need to be saving. But if compound interest on a house in a couple of years' time, you're saving and saving. Next year, that house that was worth 500 grand is now worth 560 or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you saved that amount? Maybe, maybe not. It's a bit of a short-term gamble to put your money into some investments that might make bigger returns, but just consider trying to have a rock-solid plan, I guess, for the short term. Chuck your money in the bank. It's a tricky one.
Because I think that's something people don't think about either. Is the house is automatically a good decision, whereas if there's other options, maybe that if you do enjoy renting, then you could invest in something long term and maybe set some goals like retiring early or financial freedom instead of kind of getting tied to such a big asset like a house. So
100%.
something else to consider too. Yeah.
Ties down, it's horse for courses, but some valid points there. So we sort of covered off on what the local market's doing, what Queensland's doing. It's on the up and up. Who knows? If you talk about economically, interest rate rises usually sometimes slow the markets down a bit because I guess less people come to markets. What we've definitely seen from the news we've had is that because of the last 2 years, a lot of these areas have boomed in price. And when we talk about investors and even first homeowners, they can't get into those areas. So they're either holding back or looking at different areas. And that's kind of what's happening. 3 years ago, your mum and dad investor, which is a lot of the investment property holders in Australia, were like, sweet, Townsville, Cairns, Bundaberg, Hervey Bay, I can buy in for 400. That's manageable in my budget. Those houses now are worth 650, 700. And those mum and dad investors have still got their kids and their normal expenses. All of a sudden, to go the extra stretch and borrow an extra few hundred grand creates a bigger level of maybe negative gearing. So they're now looking at other areas. So you might see areas like what we just mentioned, Townsville, Hervey Bay, Bundy, Cairns, contract a little bit in real estate sales volume. And it might stretch out to other different areas, a bit more regional, that western corridor of Brisbane, over in the other states, Taswegia, is that a state? Tasmania, sorry. There will be areas where more money starts flooding into just because it's a bit more feasible and affordable.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Yeah.
There's a threshold on what people can buy a place for. You've got to, again, if you're a real estate investor, you've got to be able to have equity cash and get it across the line with the banks.
Yeah.
To sort of borrow that. All right, that one. Okay, back on the buying. How the F are we going to buy a house? How is the government? What are some of the things to rehash on the government? I guess whether it's state or federal is helping people get into the market.
Yeah,
talk me through it.
There's been some recent changes. There's like a grant or a scheme so you can buy a house with 5% deposit.
Yep. It's a bit easier than 20%.
It is a lot easier than 20%.
Yep.
There's been some changes where I think they've taken off the income limits now. So you can get a 5%.
This be the cap, that's right, which doesn't quite make sense, but now it does.
No LMI, I think. So
they're covering.
It'd be quite attractive to our example here. That's on
80,000. Especially, 80-something grand a year. They've saved a little bit. 20% is usually that good buffer to get out of the lender's mortgage insurance. But on a easy math, 500 grand property. That's 100 grand, 20%. Like not too many. That'd take a fair few years to save.
Yeah.
Going back to that scenario before, you're saving it, but that property now is creeping up in value. 550, 100, 610. Like it's so okay. So the government's essentially coming forward. They'll cover the rest of the LMI as long as you come up with 5%, which is a lot more feasible.
Yeah. So I guess most people try and pay 20%. That's the point where there's generally no lender's mortgage insurance. But then some people can get it for 10% with no LMI or lender's mortgage. But 5% would be a big benefit. There's another one out called the Buy to Own scheme.
Yeah, talk me through it.
There's only about 10,000 places a year. It's like a federal scheme, but the opportunity is still there, and it's a
is it restricted to certain areas, or is it an case-by-case basis, first in, best dressed, or?
That's a good question, actually. I think it's like you can get a 2% deposit, and then the government will put in 30 or 40% of money of the property, the percentage value of the property. To kind of assist you, and then I think you have the option to pay it back if you want to.
Okay.
But technically they own a portion, I guess, of it.
So I guess that gets paid back when you sell?
Yeah, look, I haven't done a whole lot of research on it just yet, but something to have a look at or discuss with your mortgage broker or bank if you can get a spot. I think the income limit is about $100,000 for individuals and $160,000 for joint applicants or single parents. So it doesn't look like there's too much that might rule you out.
I guess those two we just sort of talked about. There's still your state stamp duty concessions. There's your new build grants and stuff. So the government is, I guess, trying to help. The political side's a story for another time, but I guess there are some things out there to help people add a little bit of cash or get a better rate or get their foot in the door for that old message of the Australian dream, having your little chunk of property or whatever. So there are some things out there.
There's options.
There are some options out there. But I guess on that one, just to touch on that one, some of those deals are there with a smaller deposit to get your foot in the door, but at the end of the day, I guess that means you're just going to have a bigger loan.
That is true.
Interest repayments, I guess. So you've
more
got to weigh that up. Might come back to a budget thing, just see how much you can afford, all that kind of stuff. So another one that's sort of come up, especially recently, which we don't fully know yet, whether it's you buy your owner occupied or it's an investment property, is changes to, I guess, legislation, what the government might change, which is something out of our hands. We've just got to roll with it. At the moment, there's plenty of speculation that they might change the rules on the capital gains discount This is especially relevant for people who are like, hey, should I buy? Yeah, I think I'm going to buy versus rent because I'm going to live in it for a few years, then I'm going to use that equity or build up some cash and buy another place and rent this one out. I'm now a investment property mogul guru. Cool.
Yeah.
Heaps of them out there, sure. These potential changes might change the game when you talk about capital gains tax, profitability, feasibility of the investment, you know, because everyone, for those people that get into that side of it, they're looking to maximise the returns.
Yeah.
If the government turns the tap off capital gains discount, that then might affect if you do buy that property or not, because you might cop an extra tax charge at the end of it.
So I guess with investment properties, if you were to sell it and it has doubled in value or made a big gain, there is that capital gains tax that the ATO will sting you. But at the moment there's 50% discount on that. But they're thinking of reducing it or
potentially, and they don't know. Look, there's no firm word on it yet. The budget comes out in May or the 12th of May. Good news is if you're, I don't know, for me that's my little popcorn night. No, that was a joke. I don't know.
We're so exciting, aren't we? Finance.
That's the things we look forward to. Yeah, okay. So keep those in mind, and they might sway your decision on the why you're buying property and potential sort of future ramifications wise.
I'm curious to see too how it affects like the property market, because if people are going to get charged more tax when they sell their investment property, are they going to keep buying them? Or
another tool for them maybe to help the public get into the market. If less investment property are being bought up, that means more property on the market, bigger supply, potentially the price might sort of either slow down or it just might open it up to a few more Australians. Not sure, could debunk it further down the line, but I guess we'll probably cover that when we're probably going to do a podcast when the budget comes out. Surely.
Yeah, we have to.
Budget comes out, midnight that night, we'll come in and we'll rip out a podcast. Done. Lock it in. But that's pretty much, we've covered a fair bit there, or rehashed a lot on the property side of things. Should we, shouldn't we? Going back to the key thing of how the hell am I going to buy into a place?
You haven't sworn yet. You made me say it.
I'll let you do the swearing, but there's some of the considerations to think of. Your advisor might be able to sort of point you in the right direction or offer you up some research that you might not have found. Broker, bank, but I guess move those chess pieces, answer the why, get your finances in order, because that's going to help you when you're going to have to borrow money. There's not too many people out there that can go, oh, I got 500 grand cash. Buy a house. That's a story for another time, but anything else you want to add while we cover off on that one?
No, I think that's it. I hope it helps people that are looking for a house or trying to figure out how they might buy, and give them some hope, and hopefully knowledge is power.
Good luck. All right, y'all. We'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.